Hey everyone, I hope you had a great day. Today we are looking at some new malicious compliance stories. I hope you enjoy them. Please let me know what you think about today's stories in the comment section below. The first story is called Not Just Any Business. I work for one of the UK's large internet, home phone and TV providers. I deal with tech support, sales, general customer relations and so on. My company only supplies home phone services opposed to business phone lines. So a customer calls in to express his rage that we've been overcharging his phone bill for months. I used to pay £10 per month, but now I'm paying £70. Checking his account, he downgraded from paying a set £10 to make an unlimited amount of calls to a pay-per-minute plan. And due to making around 90 calls to the same number per month, he had been charged for the usage per minute, which racks up huge costs. Of course, he's furious. He states that he doesn't use his house phone to make calls, so he shouldn't be incurring charges. He only has his house phone to divert calls to his business, as his house number was being used as a business line. And we should have told him this would happen. This is a typical line from customers in my industry. He wants a refund for the £210 in charges he's incurred due to his own error. For those who don't know much about phone calls, when you divert a call from line A to B, it's actually line A, in this case the customer's home phone, calling line B, the customer's business phone, in order to transfer the line to them. And therefore, this counts as making a call, therefore still charged per minute. I inform him that diverting the call is the same as his home phone calling his business, and this is why there are charges. I also inform him we provide domestic and not business lines, and that using the line for business is a breach of his contract with us. So I can't refund him the charges. Long pause on his end, and then I practically hear the foam coming from his mouth. He starts screaming at me. As a customer of 6 years, I'll take you and your company to the cleaners if you even think of cancelling my contract. And if I don't get my charges back, I will sue for loss of earnings and the stress you will cause me, the loss of my effing customers and blah blah blah. Being an experienced agent, I'll usually warn customers 3 times about abuse and then will disconnect the call. However, through the whole experience, something isn't sitting right with me about the info he's giving, and how his bill is so damn high for diverted calls all to the same business number. So I asked about the volume of calls that are coming through and what business he's running. By this time, he's so furious and acting like an invincible big man and is sure that he has grounds to sue if we disconnect for breach of contract terms. So he reveals that he's running a call center with 36 agents using our phone line service. Basically, his customers would call his house phone number he was paying us for. This would divert to his call center, where his customer service agents would then answer the diverted calls and arrange boiler repairs and installation. This, of course, is a huge breach of contract and a massive cost to the company I work for. Usually, at the point a customer tells us, I use my house number to run a business, it's not huge. It's more along the line of a designer, DJ, hairdresser or freelance IT who gives clients their home number because they don't have an office. This guy, however, takes first prize for his audacity of running a call center from our services. So I tell him that I'll speak to another department and call him back. You know, yes, Mr. Customer, I see what I can do, Mr. Loyal Customer. So I speak to our compliance and fraud teams to investigate the breach of contract. The fallout. They issue him with a 31 cancellation letter. This informs him that he has 31 days to find a new provider before we cut him off for breach of contract. Because this line rental was still within a minimum term contract, he has to pay early termination charges. $18.99 per month for 15 months left of his contract. $284.85 additional charges to him. He will not be receiving the disputed charges because he's broken his contractual agreement with us. The funny thing is, if he was nicer, I'd have let it slide. I've never emailed compliance on a customer except for this guy. Good riddance. The next story is called New Manager's Orders. I was working for a large shipping company at an airport for about 2 years. I loved the job. It was not really hard work, mostly teamwork and communication. First year during winter, I got an invitation to join the de-icing department. The winters around here are awful, and planes cannot leave without de-icing during snow or icing conditions. I absolutely loved it, so much so that I did it the next year. This year, however, differed. Once de-ice starts, we usually only do de-ice things until spring. We never have touched another job during the winter season. De-icing is very important and difficult to train, as they don't want people gone because of injuries from doing other work. Cue our new upper management. The new guy comes in on his first day and says that we are going to be taking turns on the mat. It's a large place inside the gigantic warehouse where the cargo containers inside planes are taken to be unloaded. These containers usually number in the 3,000 to 4,000 pound range. The entire de-ice crew has a fit, and we started the paperwork with our union rep. Unfortunately, she can't do anything about it on day one, so I get stuck on the first crew on the mat. Now it's the middle of winter and really cold outside, and I'm dressed for the weather. So once inside, I start removing layers. "Hey, what are you doing?" I hear from my boss, who is watching me try my best to get my coat off. "I'm removing layers, I want to stay cool." He responds, "Just start working, don't work too hard." I give him credit for this, he was a decent guy and wanted the work done. I shrug and start working, unloading a bunch of boxes alone in the container, working slow and steady. "You in lane 41, you need to work faster, you are behind." It's the manager from the mat yelling at me from above. "I'll overheat and I don't want to sweat, I've got de-ice after this." This was my response. He took much offense to this, as not wanting to have sweat freeze to you in the wind is apparently bad. "If you don't empty the can in the time limit, I'll write you up." His smug response has malicious compliance written all over it. I nod and go back to work at a breakneck pace. I was mad, and more importantly, I was in a hot container, in a hot warehouse and hot clothes, and mostly dehydrated. I worked until I stopped sweating, the first sign of dehydration and potential heat stroke. By this point, I was 3/4 done with the container, and about 15 minutes had passed. I yelled up at the manager on the catwalk. "I need a break, can I go get a drink?" "You have 5 minutes to finish that can, no breaks." He responded without even looking at me. At this point, I should have reported this violation to my union rep, as no breaks equal angry union rep. I decide that the military instilled me with enough discipline to continue, so continue I did. 3 minutes later, I was on the ground, suffering from acute jerk boss syndrome. One ambulance ride, one talk with the union rep, and a meeting with the regional manager from the company, the man in charge of the entire system in that particular area. That particular manager is no longer working for the company, and de-ice doesn't have to work odd jobs again. I hope you enjoyed today's video so far. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And if you like the video, don't forget to press the like button, it really helps. And now, on to the last story. The last story is called "I Don't Work for Free." This story occurred about a year ago. I worked at a local golf course for about 7 years in my teens. When I had first started there, my mother was the manager of all things food and beverage until that summer, because she took on a different job. Working there for so long put me in the line to be the new manager. However, I was not willing to take the position because I was enrolled in college and wouldn't have time for it. And considering my mother worked over 100 hours per week sometimes in our busy season, I wasn't willing. So they brought in Eddie to replace my mother as food and beverage manager, and I was another regular employee. The golf course also has a general manager who we call Chad. Chad is an idiot. He was creepy towards all the girls that worked there and had a terrible temper. One similar to a toddler. We never saw eye to eye on anything, especially his management style. And he was always getting on my case, even though I was the only person on the food and beverage side of things that knew what was up and how to do anything, including Eddie. So this brings us to the story. I was working in our little restaurant serving our golf leagues that come in. One league in particular liked to stay really late, like 12 AM or 1 AM. But I never really minded, as I got along well with them and I became good friends with a lot of the members. And they were always buying beer and shots, so there was never much of an issue with it. When Eddie started there, Chad decided to change up our dining room policies to close the restaurant at 10:30 p.m. This personally really aggravated me. There were paying customers and I was happy to serve them. And I was the only one that was usually serving them. But Chad kept going on about labor costs. Which, if you know anything about serving, I wasn't making much hourly and was relying on tips to make money. So they put this into place, and I tell Chad it's his responsibility to tell the league they have to leave at 10:30 and not me. He didn't. And guess what? The league members were mad. The first mistake. Eddie would not often, or honestly never, stay to help with the leagues, but was adamant about the new hours. As she is about to head out for the day, she tells me that I will be training 2 girls in the restaurant that night. We have about 80 extremely needy golfers in the restaurant at once on this night in particular. So I barely had time to train one. But she did not stay to help out with that. Looking back on it, it was definitely not my responsibility to try anyone either. But I was willing to help out, as she was still getting adjusted to the job and she knew that and took advantage of that. Second mistake. Then she mentions to me that if I'm not clocked out by 10:50 p.m, I will not be paid for any work after the fact. Third mistake. I ended up training one of the girls on our point of sales computer and told her she was done for the day and that she can clock out. And I continued to train the other girl for the rest of the evening. So when the leagues left at 10:30, there was food on the floor. Bathrooms weren't cleaned. Trash was not taken out. The tables were moved from their normal resting place. And the drawer wasn't counted. I told the girl I was training to move the tables and I counted the drawer. Well, it's 10:50 now and I'm not working for free. So we clocked out and left. Could I have done more? Absolutely, but I needed to prove a point. The next morning I had many missed calls from Chad and Eddie. I didn't have to come in for 2 days, so I just let them keep calling. So on the next shift day I finally called Chad back. He told me to come in for a meeting with him and Eddie. When I get there, he gives me a story about how he had to come in and clean everything up with Eddie and why would I ever do something like that. I told him that Eddie not only had me training 2 people on our busiest night of the week alone, but I also had to be out at 10:50 or I was told I wasn't being paid. After going back and forth about how Eddie was just kidding and I shouldn't take things so seriously, I had finally had enough of Chad and his antics. I told them I was putting in my 2 weeks and the looks on their faces were as if I had boxed someone right in front of them. It was awesome. I continued to work for the next 2 weeks, doing everything I was supposed to and training Eddie on any little detail I could think of before I left. After my 2 weeks was up, I ended up getting calls from Eddie and Chad all the time because nothing was going right. I was asked again by Chad to take Eddie's position on and Eddie was calling me telling me how impossible Chad is to work with. It was truly beautiful to watch all the chaos unfold even after I left. Eddie ended up quitting a month after because she and Chad couldn't get along. I don't miss much about that job or place, but I do miss my regulars every day. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like. And if you want to see more videos, don't forget to subscribe. Have a great day and stay safe. Bye bye.